Welcome everyone, this is Honest Restart, and this time we're going to be talking about the possibility of Breath of the Wild 2 showing up at the Game Awards 2021 show. I think there's actually a pretty good chance we could be getting a brand new trailer for the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild this time around. Why am I so confident about this? What could come in this trailer? Well, that's what we're talking about today. Now before we jump into things, let me first talk about my social media. You may see a few different things here on screen. You can check that all out. It is linked in the description below. And of course, if you like what you're seeing here, you can subscribe. So to be totally clear, I don't actually know if Breath of the Wild 2 is going to be at the Game Awards this year, but I think it will, with great confidence. In fact, I'm willing to put out a prediction, actually, a gamble. So there's actually a history of me putting out gambles or bets on the channel. Earlier this year, I put out a bet that Gen 4 remakes were real and that they would be announced at the end of February. I was right, so I didn't have to pay the price for losing my bet back then, which would have been naked snow angels on camera for everyone to see. I would have at least worn some sort of garments, but the point is it would have been very painful to be basically nude in the cold doing naked snow angels. I didn't do it because I was right. However, I also got overzealous and put out another crazy bet that Breath of the Wild 2 and Switch Pro would be coming out by the end of this year. Switch Pro may not even be real. Breath of the Wild 2 is slated for 2022. So that bet was wrong, and my payment, well, I ate a real-life approximation of dubious food. So this time around, I'm gonna put another bet. I am betting that we will get an update at some point during the Game Awards show for this year on the sequel to Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And if I'm wrong, well, I'm not sure what I'm gonna do yet, but maybe you guys in the comments can give me some ideas, and then I will confirm what will happen later on once we come to some sort of agreement. But anyway, let me explain why I think there's a pretty good chance Breath of the Wild 2 is gonna be showing up to some capacity at the Game Awards 2021 show. So firstly, there's already a strong pattern of Nintendo making multiple announcements at the Game Awards every single year. It's not always a big megaton announcement one after another, but it's always at least one or two things, sometimes a little bit more. In the years leading up to the release for Breath of the Wild and the year that Breath of the Wild came out, Breath of the Wild had a presence at the Game Awards. But after that, after 2017, Nintendo moved on to talking more about Smash Bros. At the Game Awards. So there's usually been a history of either Breath of the Wild or Smash Bros. Showing up at the Game Awards. But now, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is done. There will be no more DLC announcements. Sora is the final character. That's it. We're done. Now, there is no more Smash to show off at the Game Awards. Nintendo's gonna need something else. And with Breath of the Wild 2 slated for 2022, that's probably the best bet because, well, there's a history of either Zelda or Smash being at the Game Awards, and now that Smash is done and there's a big new Zelda game right around the corner, it makes perfect sense to start hyping up this game, to start talking about it. And since it's the end of the year, it wouldn't really be getting in the way of sort of hyping up or marketing any other games that will be coming out at some point this year or have already come out. If Breath of the Wild 2 is really coming out at some point in 2022, honestly, I'd be surprised if they didn't talk about Zelda at the Game Awards show leading up to its release. Because by the time the next Game Awards comes around, Breath of the Wild 2 will have already been out. You at least use one Game Awards show to tease this game. So I think there's a pretty good chance, considering the history of Zelda being at the Game Awards, considering that Smash is already done with its announcements, and that Nintendo usually has 1 to 2 announcements every single year, that Breath of the Wild 2 is likely going to be one of those announcements, most likely the biggest announcement. But there are technically other possibilities. It doesn't have to be Breath of the Wild 2. Nintendo can hype up Breath of the Wild 2 whenever they want. Maybe they want to use something else. And I think that's certainly worthy of considering. For example, maybe we get more on Bayonetta 3. They just showed off that game at the September Nintendo Direct. There is a history of Bayonetta being at the Game Awards. They did announce Bayonetta 1 and 2 at the Game Awards before. So perhaps maybe they may want to build up on the momentum established with the gameplay reveal of Bayonetta 3 during the Direct and have another announcement on the game soon afterwards, here at Game Awards 2021. That could happen. It's the kind of game that, we tend to see at the Game Awards. Like I said, they made an announcement for Bayonetta 1 and 2 a few years back, so maybe they'll do something similar here. I'm a little bit skeptical because I feel like they've been so sparse with the information on Bayonetta 3. I don't know if they're going to follow up with another update at the Game Awards, but they could. So it's certainly a possibility. Nintendo's going to want to give us announcements for things that are coming in the future, presumably things for 2022. So, Bayonetta 3 is coming in 2022. It's a core-centric game, so it's definitely one of the few things Nintendo may decide to give us an update on at the Game Awards. Another game that Nintendo may decide to talk about the Game Awards, potentially instead of Breath of the Wild 2, could be Metroid. Now, Metroid Dread just came out, and it's doing incredibly well. It seems like maybe Metroid Dread is going to get some sort of nomination at the Game Awards. Perhaps Nintendo will want to tie in some sort of announcement related to Metroid around this as well. Maybe they announce some DLC for Metroid Dread at the Game Awards. That could perhaps happen. Most Nintendo games that are brand new for their respective series on the Switch get some sort of DLC. So it would actually be a little bit out of the ordinary for there to not be DLC for Metroid Dread, and considering the core-centric style of Metroid Dread, considering the popularity of it and its likelihood to get some sort of nomination at the Game Awards, Nintendo may want to follow up this momentum and give us another update or announcement during the Game Awards, potentially for the Metroid series, potentially DLC for Metroid Dread. And if it's not DLC for Metroid Dread, maybe they give us another potential Metroid announcement. A few years back, there were a lot of rumors that we were going to be getting some sort of update on Metroid Prime 4, or an announcement for Metroid Prime Trilogy HD at the Game Awards, but that didn't happen. Prime 4 was delayed, and presumably Trilogy was also delayed or changed around, because now we have rumors of there being a Metroid Prime remake instead. So perhaps we get an announcement for Metroid Prime Remake at the Game Awards, instead of maybe our precious Breath of the Wild 2 trailer. Now, if we get an update on Bayonetta 3, or Dread DLC, or Metroid Prime Remake trailer, those would all be great, and maybe one or two of those things can still happen, and we could still get a Breath of the Wild 2 trailer. Like I said before, every year we usually get a few different announcements. Now, they're not always super big Megaton announcements, so I'm going to assume that we're not going to get a Bayonetta 3 trailer, a Metroid Prime Remake announcement trailer, and also a Breath of the Wild 2 trailer. But maybe we get a Dread DLC announcement and Breath of the Wild 2. That I can maybe see, but anything beyond that, I'm not sure, except maybe some sort of third-party game that's coming exclusively to Switch. Something like that maybe, but that's pretty much it. I don't think we'll get any more announcements beyond that. So I guess the best counter-argument you could come up with against Breath of the Wild 2 not showing up at the Game Awards is that Nintendo may decide to show off other games, because they always show off games every single year, so it's unlikely that they just won't show up at the Game Awards. So maybe they just show off other things. But while Bayonetta and Metroid do seem like they're going to have some good success on the Switch, it's still not nearly at the level of The Legend of Zelda, and with Smash now gone, which is also a really, really big franchise that creates a whole bunch of buzz, they're going to want something that's going to stir up a similar level of excitement. Pretty much the only option is Breath of the Wild 2, unless they want to show off 3D Mario, which would be crazy, but I don't expect to see that at the Game Awards. I think between Bowser's Fury having come out earlier this year and the rumors of a Donkey Kong game being in the works by Nintendo EPD, potentially by the Mario Odyssey team themselves, I just don't think it's likely we're getting a 3D Mario announcement at the Game Awards, especially because they never really announced big series like that at the Game Awards anyways, just update trailers for them. I think the best bet is just Breath of the Wild 2, and I'm prepared to gamble that and pay a heavy price if I'm wrong, but I don't think I will be wrong, but we shall see what happens. So definitely give me some interesting ideas to do in the comments below. Nothing lethal, nothing that will impact my health, but something very fun. Now, before we close things out, I did also say that I would talk about the potential content of what we could see for Breath of the Wild 2 if it's shown off. So then what could that be? Well, just off the top of my head, I think there's a possibility that they give us a title drop. That could be something very special that they could show off, and that would get people thinking. That would be amazing. They could maybe do something like that. But also, there's still plenty of opportunity to give us more updates on Breath of the Wild 2 all throughout 2022, So they may not even give us a title drop, they may just give us another update on the game. It's kind of hard to say. Maybe they don't even give us like a trailer, but actually it's like a little bit of gameplay. What if they show off like a classical style dungeon and they end it off with like a really cool, crazy boss fight that's like an original design? Something that will show that Breath of the Wild 2 is taking some of those classical style ideas from previous 3D Zeldas, but also still being the open air style like Breath of the Wild. That would be something really cool that I think will also send a really good message for what Breath of the Wild 2 is going to be, but also not be a trailer and not tell us too much about the story and still save the title drop for another time. Another simpler idea is that we do just get another trailer, a story trailer with some gameplay in it as well, where we get a few more cutscenes that hint at the story. Maybe we get to see if maybe Zelda is dead or not. Maybe we get to see a little bit more of what Ganondorf has planned. Maybe we get to see a little bit more of what happens to Link in the beginning so we can start to piece things together. And we get a few more cool gameplay clips that maybe show a few more overworld bosses, a few more areas, maybe a few more hints towards dungeons. Basically just a sequel to the sequel trailer of the second trailer we got this year. I know that was just a messy way to say it, but just another trailer. Like, they could do that. But I am wondering exactly how they will give us an update. Something I think is going to show up related to Zelda. That's what I think. But what do you guys think? Do you guys think that I'm on the right track here? Do you guys think that we'll get a Breath of the Wild 2 trailer or some sort of gameplay update? Or do you think something else is going to be showing up at the Game Awards? Or are you going to argue that nothing from Nintendo will be at the Game Awards, even though that hasn't happened at all in the last, like, 5 or 6 years? But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Anyways, everyone, this is On Just Restart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.